Welcome to the Deep Dive. Our mission is always to take your stack of sources, all the research, the notes, the big ideas, and synthesize them into, well, something surprising and actionable that really sticks with you.
Yeah.
And today, we are doing a deep dive that I'll admit sounds completely contradictory on the surface, but you have to stick with us on this.
Please do.
We're mapping the surprising overlap between relationship psychology, some really deep evolutionary maintenance strategies, and get this, high-stakes business philosophy.
Specifically, Peter Thiel's concept of monopoly.
Exactly.
That's right. And we're basically challenging you, the listener, to just for a moment set aside the romantic haze and start viewing your connections as structural long-term ventures. So the core question we're really tackling today is how do we achieve a fulfilling, lasting connection? And maybe more surprisingly, how does the core business principle of avoiding competition, which is a cornerstone for Thiel and the philosopher René Girard, how does that actually apply to your love life?
We pulled together a remarkable collection of sources for this. We've got longitudinal psychological studies on desire, on commitment, evolutionary research that details how the brain has these automatic partner retention mechanisms.
And this fascinating philosophical analysis that applies the 0 to 1 strategic concept to some of the most powerful women in history.
It's really a roadmap for turning what can feel like emotional chaos into strategic, resilient structure.
So let's unpack this. I think we should start at the most foundational level, which is the emotional goals we set in our intimate lives. Because if you aim at the wrong target,
You're guaranteed to miss.
you're guaranteed to miss.
And this is such a classic cognitive trap. The researchers, they divide sexual goals into two main camps: approach and avoidance.
Right.
And the sources are so clear that pursuing approach sexual goals, so that means you're seeking a positive experience, like more intimacy, personal growth, a deeper connection, that leads to consistently higher sexual desire and relationship satisfaction.
For both partners.
Yeah. For both partners involved, it's the difference between moving towards something good and, running away from something bad.
And that's the other side of the coin, the avoiding sexual goals. This is when you're intimate mostly to, say, avert a negative outcome.
Like having sex just so your partner doesn't get disappointed or angry.
Exactly. And the studies found this mindset is strongly linked with significantly lower desire and overall satisfaction. You feel compelled, not connected, and in this awful self-fulfilling prophecy, you end up bringing about the exact negative stuff you were trying to avoid.
The fear is the driver, not the fondness.
Well said.
And this misalignment, it connects directly to something we often chase and mistake for real intimacy, which is high emotional intensity.
Oh, absolutely. We've all known those relationships, or maybe even been in them. The huge arguments, the chaotic roller coasters, and then the really intense, passionate making up.
It feels profound because it's high arousal, but the research is unequivocal. The relentless chase for those heightened, dramatic, emotional spikes. It actually obstructs the development of real resilience, of trust, of a long-term connection.
It's instability, dressed up as passion. A house built on sand, not rock.
And this is where we hit, I think, the most psychologically unsettling trap. The thing that makes those intense relationships so hard to leave. It's called intermittent reinforcement, IR. When I was reading the source material on this, I was genuinely unsettled by how perfectly it maps onto these common relationship traps.
It's classic behavioral conditioning. Just think about the classic experiment with the rat. If a rat pushes a lever and gets a food pellet every single time.
Continuous reinforcement.
Right. Life is good, it's predictable. And if the pellets stop coming completely, the rat just abandons the lever pretty quickly.
But the truly addictive result, the terrifying one, is when that pattern is made unpredictable.
Yes. Sometimes you get the pellets, sometimes you don't. And you have no idea what variable caused the reward. The unpredictable nature just keeps hope alive forever.
And that is a perfect parallel for what happens in relationships where reinforcement, things like kindness or attention or validation, is sporadic and unpredictable.
The sources say this creates an anxious obsession, a terrible addictive dependency. The person on the receiving end becomes just completely preoccupied with trying to solve the problem.
Right, to figure out the pattern, hoping to get back control and those consistent pellets. It's emotional gambling. That random bit of kindness acts like a slot machine payoff, and it just resets your desperation.
And that dynamic is precisely why neglectful or even manipulative relationships are often the hardest ones to walk away from. You become addicted to the possibility of the reward, even while the neglect is just eating away at your well-being.
You stop chasing connection, you start chasing control.
And moving from those learned psychological traps, let's look at the mechanisms that are hardwired in us. This next section is all about the adaptive mind and how evolution installed these really complex relationship maintenance strategies.
Designed to protect the pair bond.
Exactly. Which, historically, that ensured successful co-parenting and social affiliation.
This is where it gets truly fascinating for me, because you realize your brain is doing all this heavy lifting to protect your commitment, even when you're not consciously trying to.
It is.
Our sources detail how relationship commitment acts as this powerful psychological mechanism that favors reproductive success, mostly by automatically suppressing or filtering out thoughts of other partners. It's like an unconscious shield that deploys the moment you commit.
And there was a specific study on this. It focused on committed heterosexual men and found they showed automatic inattention to attractive women who were not their partner.
They didn't have to consciously ignore them.
No, their brain just did it. It prioritized the committed relationship. And this was true under normal conditions and even when they were mentally love-primed by the researchers.
So commitment literally installs a cognitive filter. The attractive alternative, the potential threat, is basically made invisible on an automatic level.
And the contrast here is so important. Single men, when they were love-primed in the study, they showed the exact opposite. They actually increased their attention toward and had a hard time disengaging from attractive women who could be potential mates.
Your commitment status literally dictates how your sensory system processes a threat from the outside.
And there's an even more precise mechanism, if you can believe it, the fertility devaluation.
Okay, tell us about this finding.
This is just a brilliant example of how the adaptive mind defends against what are, relatively invisible threats. Researchers found that committed men actively downgraded a woman's attractiveness rating precisely when she was in her reproductively fertile window. That window is the moment of highest reproductive value for an outside mate. Yet the committed brain, without any conscious input, just reduces her perceived value to protect the bond that's already there.
The brain is so dedicated to the pair bond, it literally edits the reality of external threats without you even knowing it. That's wild.
It is.
So evolution provides these autopilot defenses. But what happens when the threats are internal? Boredom, chronic difficulty, personal hardship.
Exactly. That's where we have to move from biological security to conscious structural design. Stability is everything, and structure is what supports stability.
Which brings us to this idea and the sources of full dimensionality of relating.
Right. This research suggests that relationships with a low multidimensionality orientation, so that means they only relate on a couple of channels, maybe just share TV shows and sex.
That's a fragile connection.
Very. They experience a significant, often catastrophic collapse in positive feelings for each other when any kind of real difficulty arises.
When the relationship hits turbulence, if you only have one or two channels, the entire connection is just so vulnerable to stress. And the data here is a massive wake-up call.
It really is.
When high relationship difficulty was present, the people with a low number of these relational channels reported their positive affect, so basically how much they like their partner, it plummeted to 3.31 out of 10.
Just devastating. But now look at the contrast for those who had a high number of channels.
Couples who shared all sorts of interests, intellectual debates, financial planning, physical activities.
When they faced high difficulty, their positive affect only dropped to 4.45. And crucially, their passionate love rating was incredibly resilient. It stayed at a strong 9.43 compared to just 6.94 for the low channel group.
That resilience is the difference maker. Buffering a relationship across multiple avenues, giving it depth and structure and redundancy, that's what makes it robust against the inevitable hardships life is going to throw at it. It's about building a connection with high tensile strength.
And this idea of structural resilience brings us directly to the strategic concept of monopoly. How do you apply the ultimate business insight Thiel's philosophy that competition is for losers to your life and your relationships?
I have to stop you there, because that sounds incredibly cold and calculated. Are we really suggesting people should approach dating like a VC pitch? Just optimizing for maximum utility?
It's less about calculation and more about strategy designed to get you out of the chaos.
Yeah.
And this is where René Girard's mimetic theory comes in.
Right.
Girard argued that our desires are fundamentally, mediated through others. We often want things not because they're inherently valuable to us, but because other people want them.
We copy our neighbors. You think about status games, why you suddenly need that specific car only after your rival gets one. Thiel often points to the 10th commandment, don't covet your neighbor's goods, as this fundamental warning against that kind of competitive chase.
And when everyone is chasing the same generic, desirable object, it just leads to zero-sum conflict, to destructive imitation, where everyone loses their individuality chasing the exact same prize.
In the dating world, this is the red ocean of competition. Everyone chasing the same 5 generic traits, status, looks, wealth, and it drives the real value of connection down to zero.
So the strategy of monopoly thinking in romance is to exit that mimetic game entirely. You have to stop competing for attention in the perfectly competitive market of dating.
The shift is huge. It's from striving to be better than others to becoming
Incomparable to others.
Yes.
Precisely. To achieve a personal monopoly in a relationship, you have to identify or cultivate a unique, specific proprietary technology, a vertical trait.
And this isn't just surface appeal.
Not at all. It's deep intellectual compatibility, a shared commitment to a niche philosophy, a rare skill set, a specific structural role in life. Something that makes the value you offer, say, 10x better than the generic dating pool. And by doing that, you make all the alternatives irrelevant.
The proprietary technology isn't just about being attractive. It's about being structurally indispensable within the unique system that you've built together. And this strategic mindset, it isn't new. We see it reflected in these powerful historical figures who just transcended the competitive structures of their time.
Let's look at Cleopatra. She's often romanticized, but strategically, she was a monopoly master. The sources suggest she used her appeal not for, fleeting romantic gain, but to command structure.
She converted attraction into alliances.
She converted immediate attraction into deep political and military alliances, building a new structural foundation for her entire kingdom. She secured her throne through deals that were entirely transactional and strategic, first with Caesar, then with Mark Antony.
She wasn't using what the sources call Monroe behavior, using sex to seek momentary safety. She was using Cleopatra behavior, using her appeal as a deliberate lever for influence and structure.
And the analysis puts it so well. The sustainable strategy is to be desirable, but never consumable.
Another kind of genius was the 17th century French intellectual courtesan, Ninon de L'Enclos. In her time, a high-ranking woman was often forced into one of 2 competitive established categories:
the restrictive marriage market or the religious convent.
But Ninon created an entirely new category for herself. She escaped the competition completely. She established the famous salon culture, becoming this independent intellectual figure who commanded immense respect from the most powerful people in France. She just avoided the traditional tracks by innovating her own value proposition.
And she even strategically segmented her lovers, maximizing her own utility by assigning them distinct roles. Some for financial security, others for intellectual stimulation, some purely for physical enjoyment. She built a highly resilient social and financial structure.
And the result of that strategic uniqueness.
She maintained her influence for decades, still inspiring genuine passions at 60. And her last documented passion was inspired when she was 79 years old. She built a brand of absolute incomparability.
And then finally, you have Diane de Poitiers. She was King Henry's lifelong companion and one of France's most powerful women for 25 years. And despite the king's occasional, mimetic affairs with younger women, Diane's influence was structural. It was persistent.
She didn't focus on emotional competition. She focused on managing royal policy, his finances, even his letters. She was the operating system of his life, not just some temporary app.
So what does this all mean for you right now? The takeaway is this fundamental contrast. Relationships built on unpredictable high intensity, that intermittent reinforcement roller coaster, they're addictive, but they are structurally unsustainable. They just trap you in a desperate zero-sum game for control.
Whereas relationships built on deliberate structure, a commitment to multidimensional connection, and the creation of unique, incomparable value, those are the ones that are resilient.
And here's the synthesis you really need. The proprietary technology you build is the commitment to high multidimensionality. That is the essential link between the psychology of commitment and the strategy of monopoly.
True. Lasting commitment relies partly on those automatic psychological maintenance mechanisms, the brain filtering out alternatives. But those mechanisms are only there supporting the deliberate choice to build something that is a category of one. You escape the competition by innovating your connection until the value you provide across multiple unique channels makes all other alternatives irrelevant.
Which brings us all the way back to those hidden automatic mechanisms our brains are using to keep us safe. So, if committed men subconsciously devalue alternative partners who display fertility cues, an invisible threat, just to maintain their pair bond, what other hidden evolutionarily programmed safeguards might you be unknowingly relying on right now to keep your own relationships safe? And are those mechanisms on their own sufficient to support the robust multidimensional structure you want to build for the long term? That's something worth exploring.